first welcome everybody and thank you for attending and joining us and for your interest in substituting with Prince William County and maybe specifically at Piney Branch. Every school out in the county right now is needing subs, so it is great to see that there may be some potential candidates to help us with our needs. I'm Steve Thorne, the principal here at Piney Branch. Today we have with us Pam Mahone from the HR. And I also have Joanne Izaz, who's our secretary here at Piney Branch. She does the scheduling of substitutes. And we have a substitute pro that we use often. This is Tracy Houchins. She's also our advisory council president. So she knows the ins and outs of things, and we just have her here to give us her insights as well. So thank you everybody for joining us. I'm going to turn this over to Pam.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Again, I'm Pam Mahone. I work in the Department of Human Resources, and I have joining me today Monica Skinner, who is the sub-call specialist and works in our office with all things substitute as well. So we are delighted to take a few minutes and share with you about the great opportunities we have to be substitute teachers. I'm going to just keep my mask on, so I hope you can hear me okay. Today, we're going to discuss the benefits of becoming a substitute teacher or teacher assistant. We're going to hear firsthand about the role of a substitute teacher or TA. We'll receive an overview of the application process and requirements, and then we'll have time for questions and answers if you have a moment. So some of the benefits of becoming a substitute teacher or teacher assistant. You get to work locally, right around your school. One of the jobs I've had in the past is recruiting school bus drivers. We recruit them all over the county. But the benefit of the substitute positions are you can really pick those schools where you want to work. You can pick the days you want to work and the hours you want to work. So it's a great way to keep things flexible for yourself if you have other responsibilities while still being able to work and give back to the community right where you live. You also get to participate really in a fun and rewarding and yes, challenging work environment with a great team. You're part of a real family, community, and environment at schools where you choose to work. It's a great way also to advance your career. If you're thinking of getting into education in some way, it's a great way to get your feet wet and find out, what classes do you like? What age groups do you like? What subjects do you like? What are some of your strengths that you want to capitalize on? And it's a great way to earn some money. We just increased our substitute teacher rate to $17.81. It's one of the highest rates, if not the highest rate in Virginia, but we're right up there. And then our teacher assistant rates are $15.55 an hour. So what does a typical day look like for a substitute teacher or a substitute teacher assistant? And to answer this, I thought we'd bring in the pros. And right now we want to give, I think, one of your stellar people at the school a chance to share about her experience. So I'm going to introduce Tracy Houchins.
Hi, my name is Tracy. I've been a sub for about 3 years now. I predominantly stay in the elementary schools. I've done a couple middle. I prefer the elementary schools. It's a funner environment. And I just like that setting. The typical day for a substitute, it's not too bad at all. The teachers will leave you basically a minute by minute roster of everything that they're doing. So their schedule for the day is mapped out, and they basically tell you at this time, this is what you should be doing with the kids. They leave the work there. They won't give you anything brand new. So most of the stuff that you're doing is stuff the kids are familiar with, so that when they're working on the work, you're just kind of walking behind them, answering questions, and just kind of getting them through the assignment and clarifying some things. And then you basically just kind of throughout the day, you're just kind of moving the kids where they need to be moved, helping them, reinforcing some stuff. You'll find that some kids may need a little bit extra help, which is great with the workload because you're going to have the ones that fly through things. And then with all the extra resources that are at the school, you can sit back with a smaller group and go, okay, this is how you do this, and kind of break it down on a more basic level for them. But the teachers will give you everything that you need. They'll give you all the logins, the list of everything they should be doing or can do when they're finished. And it's really not a really bad day at all. It's not overwhelming or anything. And they'll give you the heads up with kids who leave the class, come into class, what to expect and everything else. So it basically comes down to the teacher preparing you for the class. Very seldom you'll get the teacher that has nothing and you're just kind of like, ah. But the great thing about being a sub in a good school is that other teachers will come in and they'll come and help you out. So you're never alone. If you think that you're floundering or something, you're really not, because they'll keep checking on you coming in. This is what you can do. If you're unsure about how to present something to the kids, then you just go and ask them and they'll give you the rundown on how to do it. Or if it's something that's entirely out of the base, they'll bring them into the class with them. So you have total support 100% of the time.
And just to add to that, really what it comes down to is most teachers will tell you it's easier to be at school than to take a day off because of what it's required to plan good sub plans.
Yeah.
So it's very rare that there aren't proper sub plans in place. And if there aren't, it's because of a true emergency, in which case our teams do rally around the substitute and make sure they have everything they need. Canvas has opened up really new opportunities as well, because the teachers can really plan out everything and provide everything digitally through Canvas, and the kids now have the one-to-one devices and they're so fluent with using them that it's really made planning for the sub and even executing the job of the sub much more simple, because it really reflects what the kids are doing on a day-to-day basis verbatim to what they're used to. And elementary school is all about routines and expectations.
Absolutely.
And so our teachers get them into place so that when a sub has to come in,
they're ready to go.
They can fall right in the groove.
Yeah, and just to add on that also, I always tell the subs that come in, if they have any issues, call the office. We have so much support here.
We're one radio away.
We will get somebody in the classroom for them immediately.
All right, I wonder right now, Mr. Thorne, if it might be a good idea just to open it up for questions if people want to ask anything specifically about a typical day or a non-typical day, and then we can move on to the rest of the process. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it's fine. I think they're gonna have to put them in the chat box. I don't think that in the webinar format they can ask out loud.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So if you have any questions that you'd like to put in the chat. Okay.
I was gonna say, I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so if anything comes in, we'd be happy to answer it.
And
Okay.
I'm sorry. The only thing that I would add, I mainly stay with elementary, but I have done middle and high. And middle and high is a little bit different than elementary because you are in set classrooms. It's only one subject, one class. And so everything there, the kids pretty much operate on their own with that anyways. So you're more just kind of watching the classes there instead of being more hands-on here. So there's a lot of subs who prefer to do the middle and the high.
Out of college, I did substitute before I got my first teaching job, and it was very much a passive experience in the middle school and high school. Elementary school is very much an active
hands-on,
and you are leading the line, you are giving the directions, you are working with kids the whole day.
And it's fun. It's fun when you get a class that's engaging with you. It really is. It's a good day.
It'll fly by.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's great, guys. You make it sound like so much fun. I'd like to, maybe I should go sub.
Come on over, Pam, anytime.
I'll remember that. All right, so please put questions in the chat box if you have any. I'll go ahead and move on to kind of the next slides we have. So to be a substitute teacher, it's pretty similar, the teacher and the teacher assistant position, but to be a teacher, you have to have at least 48 college credits or an associate's degree from an accredited college or university. You also need to complete the substitute application and provide copies of your college transcripts. And then we do require a professional reference from a recent or current supervisor. The teacher assistant requirement is similar, except that you do not need to have the college credit, but we do need, at least a high school diploma or a GED. You need to complete the substitute application and submit the professional references. So the difference with the teacher assistant and the teacher is the teacher does require a minimum of those 48 credits. And then the steps are pretty simple. When you complete the substitute application, you get those references from your current or most recent supervisor, provide transcripts or the high school diploma. And then once you do that, we'll review your application in HR. If everything is there that we need, you're going to receive an email to respond to a survey. When you respond yes, then you'll get the next step is to complete the online orientation, which we have all of our new hire staff do. You'll have to obtain a tuberculosis test or screening, and that is something that needs to have been done within the last 12 months. Once you finish that piece of it, you'll be able to be fingerprinted at the Kelly Leadership Center. Should give you confidence. We do fingerprint all people who are employed with Prince William County Schools. Once your fingerprint's clear, which is a pretty quick process in most cases, you'll be activated as a substitute. You'll receive an ID badge, and you can begin accepting assignments. And those assignments are, you look for them and you accept them through our sub-call system, which is the SFE. And you'll get an email once your fingerprints have cleared and you've completed that piece. You'll get an email with the information on how to register with the SFE. So it sounds a little cumbersome, but it moves along fairly quickly once all the pieces are there. So I do see maybe we have a few questions in the chat, Mr. Thorne.
Well, there was a question about substitute training.
Okay.
It goes to, I believe, what Ms. Houchins was speaking with us at the beginning of the call about. And I did look it up and I found that there was, for the 21-22 school year, there's a substitute training class that runs periodically. It looks like there was one in November and one at the beginning of January. There'll be another March 24th and another May 10th. There's a link in the chat for the registration form and it describes what it is. It looks like there's a small fee of $29 for the course, and that cost covers the inclusion of a substitute handbook. And Ms. Houchins took the class and speaks very highly of it. So it sounds like if you're at all apprehensive about it, it may be a valuable experience to take that training and just get a little bit more information in terms of strategies and techniques and things that you may want to employ as a substitute.
Excellent. Great. Thank you for putting that in there.
Sure.
Pam, I did have a question. Are you still accepting the waivers if they do not have the requirements set to be a sub?
Yes, and so that would be something that Mr. Thorne would then contact the sub-temp office with that information. Yep.
Okay. It doesn't look like there's any other questions. If anybody has questions, oh, there we go. What time does the day start and end? How soon do you have notice of your need of the substitute? Oh, the day starts officially at 9:10 is when the students start entering the door, and they're usually getting on the buses at 4:10. And really the obligations of the sub are to be at the classroom when the students arrive, and then to get them on the bus and clock out on their way out the door. So that's pretty much the full day. Joanne can speak towards the heads up on how, I mean, it really could be months out or it could be minutes out.
Yeah, you can always go into the subsystem and see which jobs are at Piney Branch or whatever school you want to go to. We have sub jobs months in advance. You can always check any day. And then if you are like you want to be one of our regular subs, I try to call as early as I can in the morning to give you a heads up in case you're interested. The subsystem does not call out for sub jobs until 4:15 in the evening. So you can always check throughout the day in case something is posted that you would want to accept.
And the reality is that once subs start to become embedded in the culture of the school, and you really become basically an honorary staff member,
Yeah.
the staff will come up to you and approach you and ask you if you'll cover days for them. It gives you a little discretion then on which classes you would like to cover. I would be lying if I didn't say that subs tend to find classes they prefer to cover over other classes. A lot of time it has to do with whether their personality is similar to the teacher that's in the room or not. And that really just is one, that's one of the perks of the job is you can be discretionary about that, who you come in for and when you come in and what grade levels you choose. But having the extra availability gives us flexibility then for the people who don't necessarily have a preference. And Joanne manages all that and she's aware of what people prefer and don't prefer, and she'll ask your permission before she puts you in a situation that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah, and as you come to Piney Branch, and Tracy can attest to this, you really become Piney family. You're not just a face in the building. You really are part of the school.
And so, yeah, we've been mentioning the subsystem. I believe it's, what's it called? I always forget what's called.
SFE.
SFE, we use the acronym as part of the presentation, Pam. So that's something we're going to want to maybe explain further in future presentations. So SFE is an online tool that we use that keeps track of all the job openings for all of the schools. Anytime a teacher knows they're not going to be in, they put in the opening into that, and that basically alerts the entire sub pool that there's a job opening that needs to be filled, and whichever sub claims it gets it, essentially. Sometimes we go into a day where we have openings in that system and no one's taking them. Other days, we know 2 weeks in advance that all of our sub openings for that day are already claimed. So it's really, it can be prearranged with a staff member. It can be you waking up at 6 a.m. and deciding you want to work today, clicking something. It could be the night before you decide tomorrow's a good day to come in. Your grocery shopping's done, the laundry's folded. We're going to take a day.
Right, yeah.
Or
it
you know,
could be me calling you in the morning.
it could be. Sometimes it's begging.
Yeah.
And I will say there's also flexibility on the sub side. While it's not preferred, if you take a job, we prefer you follow through and attend. Within reason, if there's cancellations and a day or two out, then that gives us an opportunity to pick up someone else. Our biggest, obviously, we do not like when someone cancels the morning of. That is obviously unhelpful. So that would be the only, that said, Pam, can you maybe explain are there consequences when people drop jobs from the system in the morning of, or how do we track that? Or we just really, it becomes that sub falls out of favor with the school, I guess, right?
Yes, that's for the most part, yes. You're just aware of that, and probably after a few times, you learn that, or there's it could be a conversation, why is there, another way, is there a better way for you, better days you want to work? Why is it that you're dropping the jobs? There might be some resolution there, but then otherwise, I think, you at the school level, you realize maybe it's not a good fit.
Yep. We have another question about SFE. So really, when you get onboarded as a sub and you go through the hiring process, you become an employee of Prince William County. So you get an official Prince William County login, you get the email address, you'll get access to the systems that are pertinent to your position, which in this case, SFE is the pertinent website system for substitutes. So you would have access to that when you get onboarded by the county. And what are we looking at in terms of a turnaround for hiring substitutes right now?
2 weeks. If the candidates getting all their information into the application, about 2 weeks.
And from my side, I've talked with several parents through this year because we have both been bringing as many substitutes on as we can, and we've also had temporary tutors and things coming into the building this year. And one of the hangups that we've seen is that when people apply, they don't have their documents in line. And probably the hardest document to have is that some type of transcript is needed to show the credits from the college are complete. So that's something to know. Often the onboarding takes as long as it takes to get your transcripts. So that would be, can you speak to which transcripts are required, Pam? Is it official or can it be unofficial?
It can be unofficial.
Okay.
And I did just put my email address in here because sometimes I know we put the phone number up. It's helpful. I may not have the answers, but I have staff here who has all the answers. So if someone wants us to check on something or has a specific question that they want to email me about, email is probably the best way just because the phones are a little crazy, but email and I'll get a response back to you. If you're interested, we'll look and see where you are and see how we can help you move through quickly.
Can I just add one thing about the process? I know a lot of people who have become subs. One of the biggest hangups that on our end is your references. If you're going to request a reference for somebody, please make sure you let them know you're doing it and to let them know what the deadline is, because one of the things in the system is you'll just go in limbo because the system will wait for the electronic reference to come back. And if it doesn't come back, you're just in limbo, and that'll hold you up for a while until you call and say what's going on. And then it's noticed that, oh, okay, well, you need to go and then you just redo them and then it goes through fine.
And it's a very basic reference form. It goes via their email. So make sure you have a valid email address for the person that you're using as a reference. The reference form asks about 4 or 5 quality questions in terms of you as a person,
Right.
and then 4 or 5 questions that basically legally state that you're eligible to be hired by the county. And then it gives an opportunity to comment. I do them all the time. It takes approximately 35 seconds most of the time. So very, very little if you in the way of effort on the side of whoever receives it. The biggest thing is they need to see it in their inbox, click it, and complete it in 35
Right.
seconds.
Good points, great points, okay.
All right. Well, I want to
All
thank
right,
you for joining us today. It was nice to see that we have some interest. Hopefully, we're able to have you come into school sooner rather than later. We are definitely in a time of need. So we appreciate that you are interested and possibly willing. So hopefully this information helped. If you have any questions, feel free again to reach out directly to HR at the phone on the screen. You can use their general email address, or Pam's email address is in the chat. You're also more than welcome to call Piney Branch and ask to speak to Joanne or myself, and we can certainly help you along the road. So thank you so much for joining us today, and have a good one, everybody.
all right, thank you, yay, Piney Branch, bye-bye.
Bye, bye.